Now we're gonna go to another game. We're gonna go from one bucket to the other. This is a game that has become very important to our both of our families, I think,
Yeah.
particularly after this last year. I think this game has
Yeah.
become important to a lot of families. Ryan, why don't you talk to us about Animal Crossing?
Oh, Emma. Well, hey, you were the one who sold us on this game for the pandemic, and yeah, it's really enjoyable. One thing to say is that like the whole family can enjoy it at different levels, so that's really fascinating. It's always cool to see a game like that, but um, yeah, there's just something really. I mean, obviously, green, so much green here, right, in this game type. It's about creating a pleasant island, that's enjoyable to live in. It's enjoyable for the residents who live there. It's not as wide open, as like Minecraft or like Sim City, But you can see here, just looking at this thing, like look at it. It's just looks like a lovely little place to hang out,
Yeah, it's sweet.
and it's collaborative, because you have the family, all the family plays on one island on one device, so you can only have one island. If you want another island, you have to go buy a whole another Switch,
That's what my
Nintendo
family
Switch.
did.
Yeah, yeah, and that sometimes people do that, so there's not like there are some little orange elements in there,
Yeah,
but for example, you do have to pay off your house, your loan to get but it's like really chill, like it's not hard, it's not sweaty, anything like that. But other than that, there doesn't feel like this overt like goal driven um gameplay. It's just like, what do I want to do? I want to put a little path here, I want to put a little whatever little amusement park over here or whatever it is, but there's no like orange those overt orange goals, but you're leveraging things like that, like
for sure.
construction and there's not like a overt strategy, to it. There's like a lovely museum where you can have the local wildlife there displayed for everybody to see. There's a museum right there.
Yep.
Um, it's really, I'm still in the middle of creating my island. I haven't peaked out yet. I still need to get some more rooms in my house. The orange part there.
I haven't
Um,
played in a long time, so my house literally has cockroaches in it.
Yeah, they give you some cockroaches in there.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well,
It's
I
very
will say
relational. Like,
very, very relational. So, let me.
yeah,
This has been a tough year for quarantine, and
yeah.
particularly, as you know, when you have
This
a
was a
kid,
game for quarantine,
this was a game
100%.
for quarantine. When you have a kid, quarantines are tough because kids need, they need to go outside. They need, socialization experiences. My kid, because we've had to be extra careful during all of this, has been doing school from home. She's not having
Yep.
any contact with other kids. It's a lonely place, and
Mm-hmm.
this game has been solace for her.
Mm-hmm.
She plays this game with her uncle Richie, who lives in Wisconsin. They
Mm-hmm.
visit each other's islands. She plays with my wife, her mother. They play together and they have quality. The funny thing is my kid goes to bed and my wife keeps on playing for hours until she goes to bed. So it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
we're both totally immersed in this game, and it's
No,
been
yeah.
it's
Mm-hmm.
been it's been a solace, a source of solace.
It's really, yeah, it is. It's like, it really is a perfect game in this last year because it's not sweaty. It's not like there are things you can do, like, oh, I'm going to go get some more bells so I can get a couple of things, but it doesn't feel sweaty, like it's super achievement oriented. It's just really lovely to pass time in. It's
Yeah.
aesthetically pleasing. And it's great because you can pass off the control. It's like, oh, you want to play? Yeah, like my stepdaughter Fiona is like, oh, you want to play a little bit? Okay, no, you want to watch mommy play? Okay, mommy's gonna play now. Or I'm gonna play now.
Yep.
It's
I will
really
I will say this though, Tom Nook is a crook.
Tom Nook is the orange element of the game.
He should have been Tom Crook, man.
Tom
Running
Crook.
running this island real estate pyramid scheme.
He's the only one. He is the little orange element. But really, again, like even with the achievement thing, like in terms of beating the game, it's funny you do it like in no time at all. And like if you're used to like playing a game, like, oh, is there an end game? And you realize it like happens in like hours, and so there's not an emphasis on ending the game. It's just like it's funny because you'd say an open world, but it's not an open world in terms of like procedurally generated things, but it's an open environment.
It's a sandbox.
Just
It's
it's a
another sandbox.
sandbox.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I classify this game as largely orange content, because it's
Mm.
still it's things. You're getting
Yeah, yeah,
things,
things
you're
and things like
placing
that.
things and all that. But green themes and
Yeah, yeah.
green gameplay.
Yep, totally.
It's the point of this game is to relax.
Is relax. Yep.
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 All right, so let's go to our next postmodern game, and I got to say this is one of the most postmodern games I've ever played, and I wouldn't be surprised if this game has flown under the radar of a lot of people watching right now. It is called Disco Elysium, And I could go on for hours about this weird ass postmodern, beautifully cynical game. So this game has green content, green theme, green gameplay, green across the board, masculine, philosophical, deconstructive green, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I actually can't tell if this game has a green theme or if it's actually criticizing green from a teal point. It's so hard to tell because it so embraces its own sort of malaise. But it's a bizarre role-playing game where there's no combat. Everything is dialogue. Everything is dialogue. So there's already sort of a, an orange to green kind of quality right there. You regularly you regularly talk to parts of your own mind in your own brain. One of the prominent characters that you spend a lot of time talking to is your own lizard brain. All of the skills, again, Dungeons and Dragons, it's like strength, dexterity, intelligence, all that stuff. All of the skills in this game are aspects of your own mind. So it's got things like empathy, volition, and even something called visual calculus, which sounds a little bit like vision logic, gotta say. It has something called a thought cabinet, where instead of
Really interesting.
wielding a weapon, you wield a thought, and that thought comes to it gestates and comes to fruition as long as you have it in your thought cabinet. And those thoughts can be things like communism or feminism or the mistaken belief of the rock star. And it creates all of these different neuroses and pathologies. I mean, it is such a deconstructively introspective game. And again, it sounds quasi-integral, but it really, really is one of the most postmodern, cynically funny and deconstructive games I've ever played. I mean, you play this game for a few days straight, and you're going to have probably a fairly bleak week. But that's underselling the game because it's totally.
But yeah, that's the other version. I mean, like that's what we talk about with green and postmodernism. You can have like a lovely game like Animal Crossing, and then you have the kind of a polar opposite in terms of vibe, cynical.
This is another really, really beloved franchise, and I think it's just dripping with postmodern critique. So that is a little game called Bioshock. So for those who haven't played this game, it takes place in an underwater city, which is basically designed off of the premises of Ayn Rand's objectivism. So this entire game is actually a green critique of orange pathological objectivism, individualism, all of that. And, so it's got orange content. You're literally seeing, all this kind of, look at the Art Deco kind of style, which is itself very orange, very, very modern, but it's criticizing everything through a green lens. The story is being told through a green lens. It's clearly trying to deconstruct the prior stage and the pathologies from the prior stage. And man, what a game. And by the time we get to the third in the series, Bioshock Infinite, it goes full on like Euroboric, eating its own tail, postmodern. It's a beautiful experience. It's a bewildering experience. But what a cool game series this was.
Nice.
Someone says Disco Elysium, the last game we talked about, definitely has some second tier vibes. Yeah, I agree. And I was trying to point those out, but I still feel like it's such a green deconstructive game, so I included it as green. So Bioshock is, if you guys haven't had this experience, play Bioshock. It's still very much worth playing. Have you played this one, Ryan?
I haven't. So I'm just mainly a monogamous gamer. I have a hard time tracking them all.
So now let's go into the time capsule. This is one of the only two games on the list that I haven't played. Maybe you have, I don't know. I'm sure a lot of people on our list have. This game is actually known as, popularly, the first postmodern game. And that was Metal Gear Solid 2. This is also the youngest game on our nostalgia list. This was released in 2001. The 21st century game. I was really trying to keep the time capsule to like 80s and 90s games. But this one, again, it's lauded as the first postmodern game, and for good reason. I mean, this game, again, it came out in 2001, 20 years ago. So it makes the 20-year cutoff. It's history now, right? This game predicted fake news, the aperspectival madness to come out of the internet. There are really, really weird gameplay mechanics where it becomes clear that the main player in the game, Raiden, is actually a projection of the player himself. And the game actually crosses that bridge. It breaks down the fourth wall, which is a very postmodern storytelling device. There's one point in the game where it actually tells you to turn off your console while you're playing and then to turn it back on in order to get to the next section of the game. So it's taking
Wow.
action and it's pulling it off the screen into your
Wow.
it's telling you to turn off and reset the system. And
Wow.
the story.
Wow.
There's another part later in the game where it glitches out. You're in the middle of a fight and it makes you think it's a video game glitch. And it's, you know, and it gives you like some messed up message on there. So it's got all of these really,
Wow.
really postmodern story
Yeah, totally.
devices to it.
Wow.
Green across the board, green gameplay, green
Yeah.
content, green theme.
Neat.